Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to be here today to talk about inclusive education. My name is Mr. C.J. Saravanatham, and I will be your presenter. Today, we'll explore what inclusive education really means, why it's important, and how we can implement it effectively. So let's get started and dive into this important topic together. Let's talk about what inclusive education really means. Essentially, it's an educational approach that recognizes and values the diversity among students. Instead of seeing differences as obstacles or challenges, inclusive education turns them into resources that enrich the learning environment. It's about creating a space where every student feels valued and supported, regardless of their individual needs or backgrounds. This approach is key to building a truly equitable and dynamic classroom. Throughout this presentation, we'll see how embracing diversity not only benefits students with special needs, but also enhances the overall learning experience for everyone. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. In this slide, we're exploring various teaching strategies and methods that can make learning more effective and engaging. These include explanation, demonstrations, questioning, group work, practical tasks, discussions, role play, simulations, project work, presentations, and storytelling. The key idea here is that every learner has preferred ways of learning, and as teachers, it's important for us to support these preferences whenever possible. Diversifying our teaching approaches helps reach all students more effectively. It's also important to remember that learning styles are not fixed. They can change as students grow and develop. We can categorize learning styles into different types. For example, some learners are more logical. They prefer patterns, statistics, and reasoning. Others are social or solitary. They learn well through group work, collaboration, or independent tasks. Then there are physical or kinesthetic learners who thrive on hands-on tasks, movement, and practical work. Verbal learners often prefer writing, reading, or presenting, while visual learners benefit from diagrams, videos, pictures, and flashcards. Lastly, auditory learners respond well to lectures, music, and listening to audio. Understanding these styles allows us to tailor our teaching methods, making learning more accessible and engaging for everyone. Remember, integrating diverse strategies and recognizing these styles can significantly enhance the learning experience. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. So let's explore the different learning styles that people often have. First, we have the auditory learners. These are folks who really prefer listening, whether it's to music, lectures, or discussions. They find that hearing information helps them process and remember it best. Then there are visual learners. These individuals learn most effectively through images, diagrams, and videos. They tend to grasp concepts quickly when they can see information laid out visually. Next, we have verbal learners. These are the people who prefer to write things down, take notes, or even give presentations to solidify their understanding. Their learning thrives on language and communication. Lastly, there are logical learners. They prefer working with patterns, logical sequences, and statistics. They enjoy analyzing data and understanding the underlying structure of information. Now, to connect this to the overall theme, understanding different learning styles helps us tailor our teaching or studying strategies. It makes learning more effective and engaging. Let's do a quick activity. Think about a learner who loves drawing diagrams and watching educational videos to understand new concepts. Which learning style do you think best describes them? That's right, they're primarily visual learners. They thrive on visual aids like diagrams and videos to grasp new ideas more easily. Recognizing these styles can really improve how we approach learning and teaching. Now, let's talk about slow learners. These are students who learn at a much slower pace than the average, and this can be caused by environmental factors or genetic influences. It's important to recognize that learning disabilities are a form of impairment that specifically affect academic learning, often leading to reduced performance. As educators, our role is to identify each learner's strengths, set up alternative assessments that fit their needs, and develop individual attention plans to support their growth. On the other hand, we have gifted and talented learners. These students tend to learn more quickly and independently, often demonstrating advanced vocabulary and writing skills. They're usually very motivated by challenging tasks and tend to hold themselves to high standards. Importantly, gifted learners come from all socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds, which highlights the diversity within this group. To support both ends of the spectrum, we use strategies like acceleration, where students might skip a grade or move through content faster, and enrichment, which involves providing additional or different instruction beyond the standard curriculum. It's essential to understand that gifted and delayed or slow learners are part of the same continuum. Recognizing and addressing their unique needs helps us create a more inclusive and effective learning environment for everyone. Let's take a moment to focus on neurodivergent learners, including those with conditions like ASD, ADHD, and dyslexia. These students often face unique challenges such as difficulties with attention regulation, sensory processing, retaining information, and managing their emotions. It's important to recognize that these challenges are often misunderstood, and unfortunately, neurodivergent learners are sometimes unfairly labeled as problematic. Understanding these differences is key to creating an inclusive learning environment. When we see neurodivergence not as a problem, but as a variation in how brains process information, we can better support these students. This ties into the broader theme of this presentation, the importance of recognizing diverse needs and adapting our teaching approaches to meet them. By doing so, we not only help these learners succeed academically, but also foster a more accepting and supportive classroom community. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Now let's take a look at slide 10. Here, we see a variety of strategies tailored to different learner needs. For example, gamification and e-learning can make lessons more engaging and interactive, helping to motivate students. Oral and hands-on activities are especially effective for students who benefit from multimodal learning, like those with physical disabilities or learning differences. We also emphasize the importance of larger fonts and front seating, which can greatly assist learners with visual impairments or attention challenges. Adapted school infrastructure is another key point, creating a learning environment that accommodates diverse needs. On this slide, we've listed specific learners, such as those with ADHD, dyslexia, visual impairments, or physical disabilities. The activity encourages you to match each learner with the most suitable strategy. This helps reinforce how targeted approaches can support inclusive education. Remember, the goal is to adapt our teaching methods to ensure every student has equal access to learning. Let's take a closer look at some effective strategies for supporting diverse learners. On this slide, we see a variety of approaches tailored to different needs. For example, gamification and e-learning can make lessons more engaging, especially for students who thrive on interactive content. Oral and hands-on activities are crucial for learners who benefit from multisensory experiences. We also have environmental adjustments, such as larger fonts and front seating, which help students with visual impairments or attention difficulties focus better. Additionally, adapted school infrastructure plays a key role in creating an accessible learning environment for all. Now, considering specific learners, like those with physical disabilities, dyslexia, visual impairments, or ADHD, different strategies are needed. The activity here is to draw a line or write the matching letter next to each learner to connect them with the most suitable strategy. This exercise emphasizes how personalized approaches can significantly enhance learning outcomes. Overall, this slide highlights the importance of diverse, adaptable strategies to meet the unique needs of every student, ensuring an inclusive and effective educational experience. Let's talk about the importance of drawing on students' cultural experiences in our teaching. When we incorporate their backgrounds, it makes learning more relevant and meaningful for them. For example, in KZN, a consumer science teacher might include amasi from the Zulu culture, biryani from Indian cuisine, and mac and cheese from Western traditions in a food lesson. This approach not only celebrates diversity, but also helps students connect with the material on a deeper level. It's also important to use bilingualism where appropriate, raise awareness of social cues, and create a classroom environment that feels safe and inclusive for everyone. Now let's consider what culture really is. Culture is a system of attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors that define a way of life. It includes language, ethnicity, food, customs, and history. Recognizing this helps us understand our students better and tailor our teaching to be more inclusive. Moving on to gender, research shows that girls tend to be more motivated than boys in primary school. However, in high school, girls might downplay their abilities to appear more likable. Additionally, students often choose subjects based on gender stereotypes, boys leaning toward maths and science, and girls toward arts and literature, which can influence their performance. As teachers, we can support all students by integrating boys and girls socially, assigning duties fairly, avoiding biased attention, and praising everyone equally. It's also crucial to give students the freedom to choose subjects, especially in grade 9, to foster confidence and genuine interest. Finally, remember that gender, race, and culture are all vital aspects of inclusive education. Recognizing and respecting these differences helps us create a learning environment where every student feels valued and supported. Let's talk about how we can address gender stereotypes in the classroom. It's important to create a safe and inclusive space for all students. When we see a female student who is disengaged or facing challenges, we should encourage her and support her without bias. Similarly, when discussing subject choices, we need to foster an environment where students feel comfortable exploring their interests, regardless of traditional gender roles. For example, instead of separating boys and girls into different classes to avoid conflict, which can reinforce stereotypes, we should focus on promoting understanding and respect among all students. It's also crucial to respect individual choices, like allowing a male student to opt out of arts if that's his personal preference, rather than making assumptions based on gender. The key is to focus on inclusion, understanding, and respect, ensuring every student feels valued and supported to pursue their interests freely. This approach aligns with the principles of inclusive education by breaking down stereotypes and encouraging diversity in subject choices and participation. Let's consider this scenario involving MS Nadu teaching grade 8 students in KwaZulu-Natal. The question asks which response best reflects inclusive education. First, it's important to remember that separating boys and girls into different classes to avoid conflict might seem like a quick fix, but it doesn't really promote true inclusion. Addressing gender stereotypes directly with the class is a much better approach. For example, encouraging the female student and discussing subject choices without bias helps create a safe, inclusive space for everyone. In this case, focusing on the female student who has stopped answering is crucial, but we also need to consider the male student's perspective. Allowing the male student to drop arts because he feels it's for girls might seem like a simple solution, but it doesn't challenge stereotypes or promote understanding. So the best response here is to engage the class in a discussion about gender stereotypes, support the female student, and encourage all students to explore their interests freely. This approach aligns with the principles of inclusive education, respecting individual choices, challenging biases, and fostering a safe environment for all students to learn and grow. Now, let's briefly review some key terms to keep in mind. First, neurotypical learners are those whose neurological development follows the typical or standard pattern. In contrast, neurodivergent learners have different neurological development, which can include conditions like autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, or dyslexia. Next, enrichment refers to additional or different instruction that is added on top of the standard curriculum to better support learners' diverse needs. Acceleration, on the other hand, involves skipping a grade or covering more material at a faster pace, especially for gifted learners who need more challenging content. It's important to remember that the main purpose of these supports is to bring assistance to the learner, not to take the learner to the support. Think of it as providing guidance and indicators that help us implement effective support programs. We also categorize barriers into several areas: vision, hearing, motor skills, communication, learning and cognition, health, including mental health, behavior and social skills, skills and vocational areas, and multiple or complex barriers. Recognizing these categories helps us tailor our interventions. The CSDL program focuses on 9 priority support areas, including nutritional support, health promotion, infrastructure, safety, social welfare, psychosocial support, material support, curriculum support, and co-curricular support. Lastly, there's the SIAS policy: screening, identification, assessment, and support. This policy provides a structured approach to identify learners' needs early and guide appropriate interventions, ensuring a comprehensive support system for all students. By understanding these key concepts, we can better support every learner's unique journey and ensure inclusive, effective education for all. Thank you for joining me through these final slides. As we reach the end, I want to quickly highlight the key points we've discussed today. We've explored various learning styles, understanding that each student learns differently and that tailoring our approaches can really make a difference. We also looked at gifted and slow learners, recognizing their unique needs and potentials. Neurodivergent learners, including those with autism or ADHD, require us to be flexible and inclusive in our teaching methods. Disabilities, or special educational needs, remind us of the importance of accessible learning environments. We touched on gender and race, emphasizing the need for equity and sensitivity in education. Culture plays a vital role in shaping students' experiences and perspectives, so it's essential to create culturally responsive teaching practices. Finally, we discussed the SIAS policy, which guides us in supporting learners with disabilities and ensuring their rights are upheld. All these topics connect to our overarching goal: creating an inclusive, equitable, and supportive learning environment for every student. Good luck with your studies. Remember, understanding these diverse aspects will help you become a more effective and empathetic educator. And with that, we've come to the end of our revision slides. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best in your teaching journey.